Chelsea 1, Arsenal 1. 6 things we learned from such a dramatic, huge, consequential game in the title race. I thought Chelsea were brilliant and Arsenal find their way back in. If you ask Mikel Arteta this time last month, a big win against Tottenham, one of the most famous victories in the North London derby in recent years, smashing the champions of Germany in the Champions League, and then getting a tough 1-1 draw. Yes, it was against 10 men. We'll talk about the red card in a minute. But coming from 1-0 down, showing grit, showing determination, could have even won the game 2-1 as well. I think you would have bitten your hand off. 5 points clear going into December. Saliba wasn't even fit for this game. Gabriel injured as well. No Gyökeres starting this game. No Kai Havertz. Actually, Arsenal have got a really strong point in this fixture, you have to say. Here are 6 things we learned from the game. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. We have to start off with the goals. And of course, the red card. I'll leave that to the end of the video, potentially. Chalobah makes it 1-0 on the 48th minute. It wasn't really any bad kind of defending from Arsenal. Chalobah beats his man. Maybe it was a little bit too soft in that regard, but it was down to the fact that there was no one on the front post. We saw some strange corners today in the game. Chelsea obviously leaving 3 or 4 players at the high end of the pitch. So if Sanchez gets it, he can counter-attack Arsenal quite quickly. We barely see that in the Premier League. But from the other perspective, Arsenal, who are so good and robust and almost a stereotypical classic George Graham Arsenal side when they defend. They're so aggressive, they're so pragmatic, they're so conservative when they defend, not when they're on the ball. But having no one on the back post, maybe it's a modern thing, but it just makes no sense to me. Not every player is tied up. You've got 10 outfield players for Arsenal. Have one on the back post. That's cost Arsenal today going 1-0 down. Chalobah, very, very good header, and it's a great ball from Reece James, who, let's be real, if you're an Arsenal fan watching this, if you're a Chelsea fan watching this, or a neutral, I think Reece James was so good in this game. He was actually a cut above anything that Arsenal could provide. And he was playing in midfield. We have to have serious questions about Reece James as a midfielder now, because he's operating in this position. I know it's a kind of a half space, as a kind of at points he's tucking in as a centre-back, as a right midfielder. Sometimes he's covering for Gusto when he bombs forward. But Reece James was running the show. He was absolutely unbelievable. He was a leader amongst men. It was a great ball in for Chalobah. Mikel Moreno gets his customary headed goal, his customary important goal. Many Arsenal fans think he's the best finisher at the club. And it was a great header, great ball in from Saka. All game long, Cucurella was locking up Saka. It had a very quiet game. He had a couple of chances on his left foot. But you have to say, Saka's been in unbelievable form this season. And Cucurella was really aggressive on him, winding him up a little bit. And actually, Saka beats him, gets a great cross in. It kills everyone. Honestly, it was such an unbelievable world-class delivery from Saka. And then Moreno heads home, who I thought was quite effective today, and of course gets those important goals. Even if he doesn't pass the eye test, he always passes the results test. He always gives you big moments and big results for Mikel Arteta. Of course, the game was massively changed from a red card. I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm not trying to get clicks. I think it was his first foul of the game, Caicedo. I know he goes really high on Mikel Moreno. It's a nasty challenge. It's a foul, of course it is. His first opinion, Anthony Taylor, is it's a yellow card. For me, VAR doesn't have to intervene there because it's not clear and obvious if it's a red or a yellow. It's not clear or obvious. You might be sat there at home thinking that I'm an idiot. You might think I'm doing it for clicks, whatever. If he's gone in and smashed him on the knee, then we can all agree around the table that it's a red card. Because there's a margin of error where I think he's gone high, it's on the ankle, maybe he's diving in, maybe he's not. I don't think he is even diving that much. He's not lunging in. He's not off the floor with both feet in the air. It's not quite that either. I just don't think there's a margin of error being that big. You need to send him off and potentially ruin the game. Now, Chelsea were brilliant despite having 10 men, and Arsenal get back into the game. I don't know if it was a yellow card. And actually, Chelsea was so good with Caicedo, who was running the game at points. I mean, we're talking about Declan Rice versus Caicedo. They're both the best in their own positions, and they complement each other. Imagine if either club had Rice and Caicedo. It'd be a scary season for the rest of world football. But you have to say that, in my honest opinion as a football fan, it's a yellow card. You move on with the game. And that's where we are with football. That it's a red card. It feels soft. But leave your comments down below. I'm not trying to wind you up. Just leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think in the comments. Here are the 6 things we learned from the game. thought Declan Rice was absolutely brilliant in the game. He pulls off an unbelievable block. I think it's on João Pedro to stop it being 1-0 earlier in the game. Declan Rice's defensive capabilities do get underlooked because you think about those free kicks against Real Madrid, you think about lung busting runs into the opposition box, his link-up play, his crossing ability, etc. But actually, a lot of people back at the his West Ham days saw him as a centre-back. And there's a world where he's so good defensively that even when he gets nutmegged and skilled a little bit, he can recover because he's so good physically. He could be a centre-back for Arsenal in the next 5 to 10 years. You know, if he slows down, when he's 33, 34, if he's still at Arsenal, he could end up being a centre-back. It'd be one of the best centre-backs in world football. I think he's that good positionally. He's so switched on. He knows exactly what's happening behind him and in front of him. Imagine Declan Rice as a centre-back. And at points, he was dropping into those positions between Mascara, showed great leadership with Hincapié. This is a B-string centre-back partnership for Arsenal. Still two great centre-backs. I'd argue they both start for Chelsea. They're that good. I think Hincapié is better than Fofana. Maybe Chalobah's better than Mascara, but it's quite close. But Declan Rice was filling in positionally for Arsenal's backline and proving massive defensively for Arsenal today. Chelsea were brilliant. They had a lot of space, a lot of openings, and Mikel Arteta will have to look at that in these kind of bigger games, how so much space was allowed. There's a lot of turnover of the ball. Zubimendi didn't have his greatest game today, but Declan Rice certainly did. Odegaard comes on and slows things down a little bit, but the kind of that little instinctive first time little flicks around the corner and running into space. Martinelli, you've got obviously the likes of Eze. They want to do things quick. Sometimes you need that slower player, and Odegaard's got a big role to play there, and so is Declan Rice, of course. I talked about it just a minute ago, but Hincapié was absolutely brilliant today. Put a massive tackle in on Pedro Neto, smashed him out, sort of shouted in his face. I like that a lot from Hincapié. Got a lot of aggression. Obviously, you've got to be relaxed and calm. There might be moments where he gets put under pressure. Doesn't want to get silly bookings. Timber was in a similar situation today. I thought Anthony Taylor played into the situation far too much. Too many yellow cards early in the game. There's one on Zubimendi. I thought there were too many yellows early in the game. I think he got a few things wrong, and it might have taken the sting out of the game at the wrong point in the match. And Hincapié gets his yellow card, but I thought he was absolutely brilliant in the game. And the fact that Arsenal's backup centre-backs are so much better than where they were with what Tomiyasu could go in there. You think Rob Holding, Pablo Mari. I mean, obviously at different points in the last 5 to 10 years, things have changed massively. Mustafi was in there, 7-8 years ago. Their back line is so much better. It really is. I think Hincapié and Mascara would start for basically every club in the Premier League right now. They'd start for Liverpool. They get game for Liverpool 100%. So there we go. Hincapié is fantastic. Mikel Moreno, really important. I think you're going to struggle if you're Arsenal still relying on him. Gyökeres came off the bench, was a bit of a handful, smash into Sanchez. He'll come back into the starting 11. I still don't maintain that he's the best finisher at the club. I think Gyökeres is a better finisher than Moreno. Maybe Moreno's got a knack of getting bigger goals. He's a bigger moments player right now for Arsenal. I get that. But I still think this Arsenal side, when they get these fixtures coming up, I'll talk about the fixtures in a minute, they need Gyökeres. They need Havertz. They need if it's a Semenyo maybe in January or in the summer, they still need a little bit more finishing firepower, in my honest opinion. I think Mikel Moreno has got a shelf life in this position. That's my opinion. Reece James, I've talked about him, but I think he's a starter for England wherever you think he should play. At right back for a majority of people, maybe at right wing back if you think Tuchel should play a back five. There's a world he plays in midfield because he's playing in midfield for a Chelsea side that have just beaten Barcelona 3-0 in the Champions League. Elliot Anderson isn't doing that, and Adam Wharton isn't doing that for Crystal Palace, who are both mid-table sides. There'll be a big debate about how good Reece James is. Could he be a midfielder and you play Livramento behind Reece James for England in a 4-2-3-1? Thomas Tuchel knows Reece James very well. He was so good today. Reece James was better than Declan Rice today, and they had 10 men. He was better than Zubimendi in midfield. He was better than Eze today. Obviously, different positions. They've got different roles. But Reece James was powering through people. It was scary. I mean, full fitness Reece James is a major force in world football. He really, really is. Let's talk about the Arsenal fixtures and the Chelsea fixtures. If you watch this far, make sure you subscribe and leave your comments down below. Brentford, Villa, Bruges, Wolves, Everton, Palace, Brighton, and then Aston Villa again for Arsenal. going into the new year. Very winnable set of fixtures. They haven't lost any of these games. I think they could have easily lost a couple of years ago. They would have lost to Bayern Munich. Maybe they would have lost to Chelsea and beaten Tottenham. That's 3 points out of 9. And they've got 7 points out of 9. This is a vastly improved Arsenal side. Arsenal's bottom level, when they drop points, is a draw. And right now, Manchester City, who I think are the only club that can win the title outside of Arsenal, when it isn't a win, it becomes a loss far too easily. Aston Villa, Brighton, Spurs, Newcastle, Leverkusen. Arsenal will draw a lot of games this season, particularly if they're 10 points clear in February. They've got a Champions League fixture, they've got an FA Cup quarter-final, and they can sit back on draws and get draws because of their defensive solidity, far more than Manchester City, and that would be a big concern for Guardiola. So that's another thing to look at. Chelsea have got Leeds, Bournemouth, Everton, Newcastle, Villa and Bournemouth. Again, slightly difficult fixtures, more difficult than Arsenal's. But this Chelsea side, very, very impressed with them. I thought Caicedo, if he stays on the pitch, again, wrongfully red-carded, in my opinion. Ultimately, I think, put massive pressure on Arsenal. But we say that, maybe Chelsea get more confident, they bomb forward more, they try more things, and they get caught on the counter-attack because of that. So we don't know. I'm not necessarily going to say Chelsea would have won the game because Arsenal might have had more space in behind. So we don't know that. But all I'm going to say is Chelsea aren't a million miles away from Arsenal. If they can get a top-level number 9, I thought João Pedro had a good game today. Neto for me, Garnacho, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. For me, Neto, I don't rate Neto massively. Estavio missed some big chances. Get a couple of centre-backs in there. Get Robert Sanchez out the door. Get a top-level keeper. There are only 3 or 4 top-level signings away from Arsenal's level as a starting 11. That's a massive testament to Enzo Maresca. I thought they were good today. So were Arsenal. A point, I think, is a fair result. And you have to say Arsenal have got a nightmare week. Tottenham, Chelsea and Bayern. And they've not lost a game. They've looked absolutely stupendous. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll see you very, very soon.